Hi there, it's Mike Gidding from Third Eye Geoscience here today to talk about interpretation hotkeys. So to make sure we're all on the same page, I want to start with the basics. So we've got a nice demo horizon here, which is empty at the moment. You can see there's nothing in the 2D window. Set it to troughs with validated 3x3 quality and a correlation quality of 0.91. With a doublet set to the upper loop, and always making sure we hit apply. There are 4 basic horizon interpretation modes. To get into any of them, you can press H, and if you want to manually interpret, you press U, and then you can draw however you want, and it will basically follow that. You can also drag, double click at the end to finish. Do that as well. So that's manual mode. Manual mode with snapping is also U, but holding down the shift key. And then it will try and follow the extremer that you have set within a small window. Undo that. There's a guided mode, which is basically the same as manual mode with snap, except when it gets to an area where it doesn't like it, and then it will fall over and basically leave a hole. All that is fine. If I go somewhere more difficult, like over here, and go through there, you can see that it didn't do a particularly good job in between. But my philosophy is that if you are in deep enough to have to manually pick things, then you want it to go everywhere that you click. You don't want to leave gaps. So I basically never use guided. What is much more useful is to use the 2D autotrack mode. So you press A for that. And you'll notice when I hover over the extremer that is the same as the one in our settings, I get this predictive dotted line. Now that line you can invoke by going up to the seismic interpretation settings, and in the tiny switch down the bottom here, under style, you can see that horizon prediction is turned on. Here is where you would set the width and the color. I think the default is white, and I don't like that, because if you're picking a zero crossing and you have a color bar like mine where the zero crossing is white, then you can't see anything. So I always set it to a different color. Normally I set the width to 1, but I've set it to 2 so it's easier to see for this demonstration. The shortcut to get to that is to hold down Shift and press the number 1 key, and that turns it on and off. But I always have it on, and when you click, it will follow that as far as it can based on a modified version of these correlation parameters, a slightly looser version, I understand. So that's fine. The last mode, if I undo all that, is to 3D auto track, and that for that one we hold down Shift and press A, and that gets us into 3D auto track mode. All of these modes are visible in your tool palette for seismic interpretation. I have a slimmed down version of that because there's lots of things in the seismic interpretation panel I rarely use, so I build my own. There's another video on that if you search the YouTube channel. So to go to 3D auto track, then we're putting simple dots in, and you can see that that's tracked a big chunk there. Again, we're going to undo that. The problem I have with horizon interpretation is that you're constantly pecking between U and A and Shift A to change modes. Well, there's actually a better way to do it. If you go up into your seismic interpretation tool palette, or to your own one which has got the seismic interpretation, horizon interpretation tools in it, you'll see that there are little tooltips that pop down for each of these. And the one that we're most interested in is to set ourselves into 2D auto track, which is A, which is conveniently placed right next to the Shift and the Control keys, and you'll see why that's convenient in a second. If you go down and look at these, I've now got my cursor showing that under Actions, Shift will get us from 2D auto track mode into manual tracking with snap, which is exactly the same as if we were in manual tracking and we wanted to snap. So that's nothing new to learn. Control will get us into manual tracking, and Control and Shift will get us into auto tracking with a 3D seed. So without changing the modes at all you need to do is have your fingers on the Control and Shift key, and you can stay in 2D auto track mode the whole time, which is fantastic. So instead of picking this easy event here, we're going to go up into this slightly more difficult event up here, and we're in 2D auto track mode, and we're going to click, and we can see where we're going to go here. Now, because we wanted the upper doublet, I don't want to pick here because that's going to give me the wrong answer. So I'm going to pick up here instead, and then hold down Control and click through until I get back to an area where I'm happy to auto track. And in between the two, again, I can hold down Shift or Control. Shift will snap if there's a snap to be had, like there would be possibly here. Let's go and do a little bit more, and then we're almost finished. So here we can see what the prediction's going to give us. We can click on there, click on there, click on there, and that's probably good enough. But over here, things get a bit more difficult. Click, click, click 2D auto track mode the whole time, and then hold down Control and click through until the next bit that we can auto track. So you can very quickly get difficult horizons that won't auto track, that won't track with machine learning, that you have to do by hand, done without having to peck between U, A, Shift A, G if you use it, just by holding down the Control and Shift keys at the appropriate time. That's all I've got to say about it. Go ahead and give yourself half a day or a day, forcing yourself to hold down the Shift and Control key instead of hunting for U and A, and you'll very quickly find that that is a much more efficient way to work. I hope you enjoyed this. If you want more tips, look at the YouTube channel. If you want to step up your interpretation game, have a look at my website. There's information on my Modern Approach to Seismic Interpretation course, which I deliver worldwide, either online or in person. Thanks for listening.